Good morning.
Good morning.
How are
Good
you
morning.
doing? How are you?
We're pretty good, thank you. Good morning.
Very good, thank
For
you.
Okay.
attending and
I am glad to hear that you are very well.
Hello, Adriana. Nice meeting you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Okay, Carlos, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to taking your time off on Saturday, but thanks for your willingness
No,
to
don't
help us.
worry. For me, it's normal. Normally, I have classes on Saturday, so no, don't worry. It's a nice day for me
Thank you
because in the
so much.
weekdays,
Difficult.
hard, a little bit complicated.
And you have a beautiful background. That's great.
Yes.
Nice view. Excellent.
Well, I live here in Colombia. I live close to Bogota, in
Okay.
the outside part of Bogota, and I live in a mountain.
That's beautiful. It seems to be a beautiful landscape. That's great.
Today is very cloudy.
Yeah.
Yes, this lately it's being very cloudy, cold. Bogota's weather is kind of Quito's.
Quito, right? Yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
always compare like the climate of Bogota as Quito, and the same thing about the city and everything. I think is very similar as Quito. Yeah, I always
Yes.
compare Medellin as Guayaquil and Bogota as Quito.
Yes.
Are very similar cities.
Yes, they are similar. Yes, we share a lot of things. So, and I have many students from Ecuador, and when they are from Quito, I say, "I hear it's very cold," and they say, "Yes, here too. It's raining."
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I live actually in Ibarra. Here today is been a beautiful day, but lately it's been raining a lot and really cold. So fortunately today we have a little sun.
Yes.
Bueno,
Yeah. No, it's because time weather is crazy these days.
weather is very changing right now.
Mm,
Okay, so I think to honor the time, your time, and the attendees, so I will make a very brief introduction about you and ECUATESOL, and then we will start with you, Adriana.
okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all ECUATESOLers. Thank you so much for being here today. And I know that we have people from Quito, from Loja, from Riobamba. Thank you very much from Latacunga. That's great. From different parts of Ecuador, and we have people from outside of Ecuador as well. So remember that these events, these webinars are organized by ECUATESOL, the Ecuadorian Associations of Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages, and we work with the sponsorship of TESOL International. We are the principal affiliate of TESOL International here in Ecuador, and with the support of Universidad Yachaytec, Universidad Nacional de Educación, and ITEP. No, actually, ITEP is sponsoring today's webinar with an amazing presenter that we have today that I'm going to present a little late. Don't forget to follow us in our website. Remember that all information we are posting in our website, and we are posting all the videos and information about the webinars and the training sessions and training developments in our YouTube channel as well, and in our Instagram account. So please follow us in our Instagram account. We are presenting and sending information about ECUATESOL and another updated information through our Instagram account. As well, don't forget to register to become member of ECUATESOL. So here you have the QR code, or if you need more information, you can send us an email to equatesol@gmail.com to have more information about your registration process, to become a volunteer of ECUATESOL, and for certificates and everything else. No, this is our ECUATESOL network as well in our WhatsApp group. So please be there so you can receive updated information and you can interact with us. Actually, remember that this round of webinars is part of a round of webinar sessions. This is the series number 1. So we are having webinars We started on January. We are going to end up in June, and you are going to receive your certificates. A lot of members are requesting the certificates. Yes, in June, you will receive your certificates according to the number of hours or the webinars that you have attended during this time. No, so please be aware of that. And as soon as we finish June, the last webinar, you will be receiving your certificates of attendees. The same thing from the ones of you that you have attended the mini congress that was 3 weeks ago. The certificates are on the way. So we are just waiting the final signature from the US Embassy. And I hope that most or late on Tuesday, we will receive the certificates and you will be receiving the certificates through your email addresses. Okay, so with no more introduction, I would like to present today Adriana Rodriguez. Adriana Rodriguez, as I mentioned before, she is a consultant in ITEP from Ecuador, and we have the honor to have her today presenting our workshop about intelligent behavior, learning styles, differentiation in the classroom, and adapting learning as a fundamental part for classroom management. When the students feel no motivated and respected in the class, classroom management will take another dimension for teachers. So she will be talking about that. And she has a long and vast experience in the English field, being English professor, English consultant, and English a researcher. So let me introduce her reading her bio, which is a little long, but it's really interesting. So Adriana, as an educational consultant, academic coordinator, and school principal, she has developed the know-how in different education fields. For instance, she has fully worked developing curricula for all subjects at bilingual schools, which include the IB program. Likewise, she has developed the academic proposals and carry out programs based on understanding by design, project language learning, and dimensions of learning approached, being able to enhance all thinking competencies and the standards for excellency. She has also obtained different academic proposals to improve habits of mind in the students. Besides, she has developed a pedagogical proposal and project based on holistic education, orienting the development of cognitive, emotional, and spiritual intelligence. Similarly, for more than 5 years, she has been working as curricula developer for e-learning courses and projects designing courses for different careers. Additionally, she had the opportunity to implement IBO programs in two different schools, having a deep understanding of what IBO school model is and what the three IBO programs work on. She has also developed and applied an investigation about the social constructive of writing language based on the zones of proximal development. Likewise, for more than 15 years, she has given conferences and workshops for parents, teachers, and students in different matters oriented to cognitive subjects such as understanding by design, project approach, brain and learning portfolio, and assessment emotional intelligences such as productive habits of mind, metacognition, emotional intelligence, limited among several other topics, and spiritual intelligence. She has been also teaching English as a second language with an orientation in the classes considering active learning, differentiation in the classroom, constructivism, sociolinguistic. In fact, due to her wide experience in curricular development, she has worked as a pedagogical aspect and coordinator in the development of syllable for general English and English for specific purposes in bilingual projects, developing virtual object courses for e-learning in English and teaching and technology program. So we have the honor to have Adriana today with vast experience. Thank you so much, Adriana, for being here. And these beautiful Ecuadorian teachers that are attending today are all yours. So you can share the
Thank you,
screen
Carlos.
and welcome.
And thank you for that presentation. The only thing that I I want is just to share what I have known through my experience. So be free to ask, to stop and ask your doubts, and to have a very nice workshop. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start today. Let me see. I normally use Teams and Zoom. Oh, time ago, but I'm going to let me see. Ah, here it is. I'm going to share my screen and with you, and this is something that we are going to be working. So as Carlos was saying, we are going to focus on classroom management, and I want to start telling you that classroom management is something that we have inside all our class. Is not just a part of the class. No, it's everything. And when we honor our students, when we respect them, when we connect with them, believe me, the things are going to be a little bit different from us. Okay. So my first question that I want to ask you is, um, what strategies do you believe are effective for managing a classroom? So what works for you and what maybe doesn't work for you? So I want to just to ask you if you have strategies. If sometimes we have strategies that work with one group and some strategies don't work with another group. So someone want to share? No, you are quiet today. No,
They
when I
love
was
they
young,
love to
yes.
participate. Sometimes they like to interact through the chat, or
Okay.
at the
The
beginning
thing
always
is
they afraid to talk in the microphone. No, but then they start getting used to.
that okay, don't worry. I remember that when I was young and I in the last century. I when I started to be a teacher, for me was very hard, very very hard, the classroom management.
Okay,
Mm,
hello, good morning, everyone.
hello.
Adriana, welcome to Ecuador. And Carlos is my first time in this session. Yeah, today, the best way to work in class with is make a collaborative groups, make challenges with the students, and we make the class more active using, for example, platforms like Kahoot, like for example, Wordwall, using some platforms to use in class. This
Mhm.
this is the best ways to student catch the attention and 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 learn the new language.
Yes, yes, good, good, very good. Sometimes we don't have all the resources. Sometimes there are teachers that, well, we have to deal with classroom management, and even though the technology help us a lot, it is going to be sometimes very challenging for us too. So sometimes we have that one. I was telling you that when I started to be a teacher, for me it was very hard, very very hard, because with little, well, with I started with university, but then I had to work with the schools, and I remember that I had first graders, and it was terrible. And hopefully, I had a coworker, a friend, and she taught me many strategies. But along my life, I have discovered that when we have several proposals, several methodological proposals in the classroom, we can say that we forget about classroom management because it's embedded into the things that you are doing. So that's something that we learn throughout experience. Okay, another question. How would you handle disruptive behavior from some students? What normally do you do? Or what? or you don't have disrupted students? No? Okay. That's part of our day to day life, no? Disrupted behavior in some students, not in all. Mm,
I think Carolina wants to participate. Carolina, you
okay, it's
can you?
because I can see here, as I told you before, I'm
Yes,
just sharing the window, but
that's
let
okay.
me share the, sorry,
Moment.
one moment. Let me share the, give me one moment, and I go to the, and I share with you the, one second. Um, because Zoom for me, as I told you, I have stopped using Zoom long ago. So let me see if I share the pantalla completa is going to be easier because I can see, as in Teams, that I can see the other things. Let me see if it is better like this one. Okay, so I think that is better like this one. And you let me know. Okay. So Carolina, sorry, what was you going to tell me?
Yes, so sorry for not being able to turn on my camera. I'm right now at my work. Yeah, maybe you will be able to listen. But I wanted
Don't
to say,
worry. Don't worry.
whenever you have disruptive students, the first thing to do is that you shouldn't take it personally, especially when you work with teenagers. You need to realize that they are still in development. Therefore, they are not able to control their behavior as well as an adult could do it. So I think the first thing is not taken personally. And when I've encountered a very disruptive student, I usually pull a chair to the corner of the class and I tell them that is the crazy corner. So you will stay in that corner until you calm down a little bit and then we can continue. And that helps them to calm down. I found that is kind of useful. So that's what I have been doing during this time.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, sometimes they put them aside in a chair. It's a good thing. And uh, but sometimes it takes a lot of time of the class for giving them the space and the time to calm down. Yes, it's a very good strategy. Sometimes we have, I don't know, but uh, through my life, I have had difficult students. I remember students with TO, with oppositional, that's oppositional, that in Spanish is uh, conducta oposicional desafiante, oppositional behavior. And it's very complicated because those students you can say no, otherwise they are going to enter in an environment that is very dangerous too. So it's a very good way. Normally, what my life has taught me is that um, I have learned that I have to stop that behavior quickly because I cannot make the other students suffer from that. So that's something that I work with this, for example, with these students, or sometimes the students with TDA. They are also very demanding and challenging sometimes. Okay. And how was your when you were at school? How were you? Were you a very disruptive student, or you were very disciplined and follow rules, or how did you do that? Do you remember that? No? Sorry if I can see because anyhow I am sharing the screen, but I can see if you are sharing in the chat. Maybe Carlos can help me. If you just let me know if someone is in the chat, I can because I am sharing the screen.
Sure, of course, that I can help you. Some teachers say here that one strategy is to arouse the interest of the students through group activities that allow them to create or represent what they have learned through drawings is Teresa. And then I think Alejandro say, I consider that it helps to build a good relationship between teacher and students. Daniela says it was
Mhm.
very responsible and good student. She was a very responsible and good student. Janet said that she was a very disciplined student. And
Yeah.
Teresa said that she is very disciplined as well. They were very disciplined students.
Good for you. I was terrible. I was the one that I was always disrupting the classes. And I asked you that because in the way you were as a student, you try to have to connect with those students that were very similar to you. No, I love, for example, the students that are very demanding and challenging, because I was like that. I was very very for my teachers, very disruptive. So I understand the students when they act like that. But what Carlos said is true, and what you wrote. When you connect with the interest, when you give them a lot of things, you are going to see that classroom management is going to be easier for you, very easy. This is the expectation we normally have. This is what we want in life. Let me share with you this one.
Your T-shirts and your pencils out, so I'll call you by rows to come to the carpet. It looks like row 2 is ready. We don't need to bring our T-shirts. Just your bodies. Looks like row 4 is ready. And row 1. And row 3.
So in a moment, we are going to see this one. But I'm going to stop just to tell you, this is the expectation. This is what we normally want. And if we know how to do it, we learn from our students that it's easier. No, something that I'm going to learn to tell you later is when we are working with active learning and differentiating classroom that we are going to see later. Something important is to bring the students when you are going to give instructions or when you are going to explain something. Something important is to bring the students, even though if you are in preschool, in elementary school, or high school, or middle school, even at the university, you can do this, is to have the students in front, receive the instruction or the explanation, and you're going to see something very important, and is that when the students are sitting down and you are like the teacher here, and the students are looking at you, their brain changes, and it permits them to focus better. So they are going to being paying attention better in a better way because of the position of the head that permits the brain to have full attention. So that's something very important that we are going to have in active learning. We normally do that, and as you notice, everyone was working, so the working space is different from the in active learning. We call that large group and small groups. So in a large group that is in the front of the circle time, if you want to have it like that one, uh, you can have the students in front of the class, and in that one is going to be easier to explain. And as you see, they are not having anything on their hands, so they are not going to be distracted or everything like that. Okay, so let's continue.
Awesome job. Thank you for coming to the carpet so quietly. So yesterday we learned about pushes and pulls. Think to yourself, what is a push?
I'm going to
Turn and talk to your neighbor. How would you define a push?
Because I'm just going to.
3, 2, 1. Push something forward. Raise your hand if you want to describe the definition of a push. Kaya. You're moving something away from you. Think to yourself, what's a pull? How could you define a pull? Turn and talk to your neighbor.
Other thing that we are going to work later is to just check, no, the way she's talking to the students, the body language. No, when you are in a school, no, I mean when you are preschool with preschool students or with elementary or even with the high school, very important to work with them at the level, no, not just to be standing up. Sometimes this kind of classroom tend to be noisy, but it's a productive noise. No, no, it's not something very quiet. So I was asking you about how you were at the school, because sometimes teachers don't don't like to be in a noisy classroom, and sometimes the active learning classrooms are very no are very noisy, no are noisy, because everybody is doing something different and because everybody is sharing or working on the thing that they have to do, but they are always focused on the task that you have given them. And that's very important because the teacher here is a facilitator, and the body language implies that she is close to them. Okay, so that's very important. I'm going just to forward this one.
And bring your own putty box back. A slate, a marker, an eraser, and come back to the carpet, please. Thank you, Peyton. Good job, Kevin and Ellery. One, a half.
Okay, what do you think about this classroom? Is the reality in your classroom? Yes? Or is it something new for you? No, I don't think so. No
Well,
idea?
I think, Adriana, that, well, I would like to comment, like, for example, maybe because I'm checking in the chat, some teachers say that the reality of the classrooms that we have here in Ecuador, we have, for example, more than 34, 35 students in each class, no?
Mm-hmm.
And the classroom is completely different. You can see here that they have a very cozy space where the students they can interact. They have some pillows on the floor. They have a
Okay.
different way, the tables, the chairs, and everything. But then here it's a little different, no? The classes in Ecuador.
Yes, here in Colombia, uh, I remember here in Colombia there are different classrooms, but in some schools the classrooms are very traditional. I remember that I arrived once in my life to a traditional school, and I couldn't. So I said no anymore. But in that way, in that classrooms, I moved the classrooms around, and the chairs and sorry and the chairs and the desk around, and I formed groups. Um, I think that maybe we can change a little bit if we have it's just sometimes to handle the things, but I think that you are going to see that you can do it. It's not a big deal to buy things or no. Sometimes, for example, if you move the students outside and give them the explanation outside, there are many ways, no? let me show you what's happened normally. So well, sometimes this is the reality that we have encountered in our lives. And at the very beginning of our teacher experience, this is what we normally have. You are going to see. Okay, what do you think? Poor teacher. Poor teacher. No? You feel the anxiety that she's suffering. What do you think about this one?
It's complicated to have this class with this kind of behavior students. I think the teacher in this video, the teacher didn't planning the class. There is not planning because the students and they are bored. They don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. I think the most important is planning the class. Take
Yeah.
some resource to catch the attention of the students.
Yes, and you notice the way they are sitting down. Uh, when I see these kind of things, and believe me, I have seen this one in real life. I always worried about the learning, no, because I say, come on, there are many minutes taken from the learning for the learning time that they are valuable, no, because we are over there just for teaching and for permitting the students to learn. So if you see, it's impossible in this kind of classroom, as you said, there was no planning, or maybe there was a planning, but there was not a set of limits, no? That's something that it's with intelligent behavior that we have to think about in limits. So if I permit a student to sit down like that in a class, no way, Jose. No, look at the disposition, the difference from the first classroom and the second classroom, the dispositions. She just have a little pathway, no, to move around, and that's not possible. Okay. Any other comment? No.
They have some comments on the chat that they say a teacher, when he has many students, he needs a helper or a shadow teacher to support his class, or there was no management in the classroom in the second example.
Yes, but the reality is that we don't have that. Most of us in Colombia, for example, if we work in a bilingual schools, in certain bilingual schools, in preschool you can have an assistant in preschool, and obviously in those schools um, we have 20 students, no, maximum 21. But the real life is that we don't have assistant teachers for us. No. I remember that when I was working in elementary, we never have assistant teachers, and I used to work in a very important school here in Colombia that they have assistant teachers in preschool. And one day they asked me to teach them math to first graders. First grader is considered in that school and in some school part of the preschool. And I said, okay, I went. But I was used to not having assistant. So when I arrived to the class, and the assistant teacher said to me, "Do you want that I help you?" I said, "No, I don't." And she was, "Why?" He said, "No, because I haven't had that in my life, so I don't need it." But the reality is that we have to handle everything by ourselves. So that is amazing, and that's the real the what we want. But the real life is that sometimes we don't have assistant teachers, and I'm going to tell you how we can handle and we can change this one to the to another thing. No, the idea is to create a connection in our life, and that's why classroom management is an art and science. Like teaching is an art, but teaching is a science, uh, because it's an art when you create the atmosphere, the environment, when you permit the students to go with and flow, the class is flowing and they are learning. And it's a sign because obviously you are creating the ways to learn. No, this is related to neuro education, to neuroscience. So classroom management is part of the art and science of creating a positive and productive learning behavior. And that's very important, and productive and positive. Um, Most of the times, for example, in the last example that we have, the bullying behavior was astonished. So they were bullying the teacher, but the teacher also bullied the boy that who was speaking. So a classroom is like a microcosmos over there, no? And we have to be sure to enhance the positive environment that people feel, or the students feel, and that teachers feel, um, that they are in a safe environment, no? And if we don't have a classroom management in a very good way, we can have an effective teaching learning relationship. Yes. So if we don't have a classroom management that is a very good classroom management strategies, or a way that we can enhance that one, the learning is going to be affected. And that's something that we cannot permit as a teacher. This is something related also with the position we have as a teacher, no? Or how we feel that the teacher profession. For me, being a teacher is not a profession; it's more than that. No, I when I work with teachers with here at the schools, when I have to give workshops to them, my question is always telling them or asking them, "What are you? Are you a teacher for the moment or a teacher for the life?" So classroom management needs to have a teacher for the life, because the environment, you have to know that the students must feel safe, that the student must be accepted, that the student must feel that they can do all the things that they propose, but also they have to be productive. And you cannot demand things that you are not going to give them. So if you demand that they have to be on time on class, you have to be in class before, in time, not on time, but in time. So remember that we are models, we are role models. So that's the most important responsibility we have. To be a teacher means that you are a model, a person, a modeling in that person, because you are modeling all the things that you want. And when they find that you respect their time, that you arrive at that everything that that you are asking them to do, you do it first, believe me that the respect is over there granted. So in classroom management, we have organization, no? It involves organization, but it's not only for classroom management, as the teacher was talking about, the planning. Yes, planning is very important, and planning is part of the organization. But the classroom must be organized because the brain learns better in an organized environment. And just think about your desk. When your desk is messy, your brain can focus. So the same thing happens when the students are in a messy classroom. So organization in the classroom must be, in a moment we are going to talk about the physical environment for classroom management, but everything has to be organized, everything has to be planned. Even though, remember something, even though there are several things in the classroom, that is, we call that the hidden curriculum, because once you close the door in your classroom, something different appears, because you don't know, maybe that day one student was sick, or the students were, you have all your class plan, and you say, okay, I'm going to teach today this one, but that day something happened in the classroom, and one girl was crying, and the other one was, and you have to stop the class, and you have to say, okay, this is important, so I have to solve it, and then the class is forgetting at that time. So you have to have the planning of the things, but you have to have also in your mind that sometimes there is a curriculum that is hidden, and that you can, there are activities or things or situations that you can handle. But the organization is one of the important parts. Always at the beginning, you have to have clear expectations. That's another part that we are going to talk about. When the students know what are you doing, how you are, or what are you doing, how they are going to do the things, what is expected from them. For example, something that is very important is that you have the rules of the classroom, no, the thing that they can do, and the other thing that they are not allowed to do, but also the expectations in the class, no. Uh, let's say if you have the objectives of the classroom, of the objectives of the class that day, the objectives of the term, of the subject, or the objectives of the class, they have to know where are they going. So if you have, for example, today we are going to work on this, and you write that on the board, it's going to be easier for them. If they know, for example, if they are using materials or something like that, if you permit them to get organized in advance, it's going to be easier for them. No, if you know, okay, for example, if you are going to have a math class or English class or science class, and they have the material that they are going to need, for example, the book, the pencil case, the notebook, what they need close to them, and before in advance starting the class they have everything like that close to them, is going to be easier for them, because they know that they are going in a certain point to use those materials, but also because they are not going to start in the middle of the class standing up and going to look for the notebook. So that kind of organizations and those little things that seems very simple and very obvious, they are not so obvious, and they are not so simple sometimes. So you have to plan the beginning of the class, telling them, okay, this is what is going to happen, this is what I need you to do during this time. Another thing is, when you give the instruction, and this is going to be part of the intelligent behavior and productive habits of mind, give the instruction slowly, and in a certain way divide the instruction. When you are giving even for you, when you receive an instruction that is very complex, your brain is always taking the first part and the last part, but the middle, no, because that's the way the brain works. So when you are giving the instruction, give the first part, then write down that part, then the second part, and in that way, you are not going to have students asking the other one what we have to do, because that's the thing. That's how the brain works. It's not their fault. It's our fault because we are not giving instructions in the right way. When I was a teacher I was always worried about how the brain works, no, when you are learning, and that's why I study a lot about learning styles, about habits of mind, productive habits of mind, intelligent behavior. And once in my life, I designed a curriculum and I designed a subject that was called productive habits of mind. And that subject was to teach the students how to learn, to learn them, that they can learn how to learn. It's a metacognition thing, but it was very amazing. And when I was teaching them about the instruction, I said, okay, remember, when I am going to give you the instruction, I'm going to write down da. And ask these teachers to do that. The other teachers were not happy with me because I tell the students at that time, I told the students to do that because it's easier for them and they can handle. Something that stresses the brain is not to know what to do in advance. So that's why when you arrive to your classroom, there are some kids that say, what we are going to do today. And some teachers say, ay, come on, ay, again. No, it's because the human being needs to know what is going to be in advance. The human being, in order to not be stressful, has to anticipate the things. So when you arrive to your classroom and you take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, saying what is going to happen during this time or during the class time, they are going to reduce the stress because you are anticipating. And if you can anticipate all the things that is going to happen during the day, it's going to be easier for them. So when I go active learning, I'm going to return that one. But to that topic. But it's important that you take into your mind that the organization is a key for classroom management. And obviously, when the students know what they have to do, what the teacher expects or what is expected from them, so they are going to say, okay, I need to do this one and I need to do the other thing, and they are going to avoid disruption. The first disruption, when the instruction is not clear, is the one that they turn to their classmate and say, what do we have to do? Or they ask you, what do we have to do again? Yes, because it's normal life. So that's the first disruption. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to a little bit. Okay, let's analyze something here, and I'm going to, let me see. One second. I'm going to pass this one. That is, we have already analyzed the videos. And in the videos we see, as someone said in the second video, that we are suffering with that poor teacher. Maybe she had planned the things, but she didn't do the right things. That something very important for you. You have, or we have to say to our brain that we are ready for something. So when you are giving instructions to your students, your brain must know that they have to be sitting down in the correct way. It doesn't mean that we are in a non-school, in a religious school. No, it's because when you are sitting down like this one, and your brain is like, your head is like this one, and your back part is close to the chair, the brain immediately says, okay, I need to pay attention. If teachers permit the students to sit down as they want, it doesn't happen because the brain needs that one. This is something related to the brain, and we need that one in order to teach, and they need that one in order to learn. So the first problem with the teacher is that she permitted all the students to sit down as they wanted. No, that's not possible. When you enter a class and you tell, okay, today we are, the first thing that they have to do is to sit down in a correct way. When I normally work with active learning, as I told you, and in differentiation classroom, in differentiated classroom. But when I work with active learning, I normally, I used to, because now no, I used to ask my students to come in front to the class. Sometimes with the chairs, when I work with teenagers, I ask them to go with the chair. Sometimes I say, no, no chair, because we don't have time. The thing is short. Or when the explanation, I said, okay, sit down here, and I explain this one, that. So when they are over there, I ask them to sit down properly, or even with the chair, sit down properly. Why? Because they need to pay attention. And before in advance, I always organize the classroom, no? What does it mean? Something very simple. Organize the classroom means if you have trash on the floor, pick them up. If you have the school, the backpacks or the things, if it is a messy classroom and you enter in a messy classroom, your classroom is going to be very hard, and your class is going to be very hard. So I normally enter a classroom and I organize first the space. No, put the backpack on the proper place, clean your space, no, because we are going to pay attention to something. Have your notebook or things in a part that you can access them later, but on at the very beginning, the desk, if you are not going to permit them to go to the circle time or to the large group part explanation, have your desk or their desk clear with anything, no cell phones, no anything. If they know the rule in advance, it's going to be easier. Don't permit them to have the cell phone to sit down like they want. No, that one no, because we are learning. We are not in a social situation to take to have a cup of tea. So those limits and those things, believe me, are going to help the brain, because the brain again learn in an organized environment and in an organized way. So that's why it's very important, okay? We are going to see how the classroom management is organized through the classroom setting, so the physical environment, through the learning styles, through the active learning, through the differentiation in the classroom, the neuroeducation, and the intelligent behavior. The neuroeducation and intelligent behavior, it's something around everything, and I'm going to be talking about like that in that one. Something in intelligent behavior is that people have to know the limits. And when you are in a class, they have to know your limits. And you have to tell them in advance. There are teachers that permit something because they don't care, and there are others that we don't permit many things. For example, for me, that's in my experience, and I tell them in advance. For me, a bullying behavior, it's not allowed. I can admit that one. So I'm going to stop the class, and I normally say, if you want to see the lioness that lives inside me, just behave like that, because I'm going to stop the class and you are going to have your consequence because of that. So there are things that I have to promote in the classroom, and is safety. Students have to feel safe. Okay, so we are going to start with the first one, that is our classroom environment. Because when you have a classroom environment that is organized, that is clean, that is everything has the proper place, the stress is going to get down, and it's going to be easier for you. So you say, okay, I cannot move. Maybe you can move um, your desk and the chairs in a way that promotes eye contact. You have to see in all that what all the students are doing, and you have to and they have to be able to have eye contact with you all the time. Okay, another one is that permits the interaction among students. I'm going to say something that I have learned through experience. Learning is a social thing. Learning is a social uh, matter. So when you have students in lines, no learning at all. Why? Because in order to learn, you need the other one. No, this is a very socio-constructivist thing, and thanks God, Vygotsky say that you or students learn through the interactions with their peers. You explain something, but sometimes the real teachers in the classroom are their classmates. That's why Vygotsky has the um, proximal development zone, because there are students that understands better or faster, and they help you to teach the other ones. And they learn more from those kids than from the teacher sometimes. So, important thing, try to think about how I'm going to move the desk around in order to permit interaction. I I know that maybe you are in schools that they have all the lines, because that's the problem in education. The world has changed, but the education hasn't. And there is a gap, a big gap, and we can do many things. But if we don't understand that we have to have them in groups, talking, doing, in a line, they are, sorry, I'm going to say something in Spanish, yo con yo. And yo con yo, I learn, but not in the same and in the faster and in the effective way that when I am in a group. Think about in your classroom right now, and think about the circulation for the students and for the teachers. If you see in the in the poor teacher video, there is just a pathway and a lot of um, desks in a pile like this one, not in a group. That's not good. That's not good. So, important thing, think about that you can circulate and the students can circulate. Um, when I was, uh, I learned a lot about working in a school that I loved so much, and that was active learning. And at the beginning of the school year, we have to label everything in the classroom. Everything that you have in the classroom, like pencils, every material. In that school, we have a lot of material. We have to label everything, and it was a nightmare. Imagine label everything. But later on, we understood why. Because when you have the possibility, or when the students have the possibility to know where to place the things, so you are going to avoid a messy classroom, because everything has a place in the classroom. So, for example, the backpacks are here, and they say backpack. So every time, okay, put your backpack where it belongs. I remember, for example, we have I was a homeroom teacher, so I taught them English, science, math, social studies, project, and we had baskets with the notebooks for each subject had different colors. For example, the blue for math, the green for English. So it was easier for them, and the baskets were the same color. So it was easier for them when we had a math class that say, okay, math notebooks. We took the basket, and it was easier for them. Okay, the blue ones goes in the blue basket. So that permits them uh, to anticipate, to organize, and to have a safety, to have a feeling of feeling safe, because they know the environment. So that's another thing. This is the physical things that help you to have a very good classroom management. Again, with the social things, again, with the learning is a social action. So you have to know, or to facilitate group work and discussions. And as I told you, that everything that is in the classroom is accessible to them, that everyone can have the notebooks, everything, the laptops, I don't know, in a proper place, and that they can access that easily and quickly, no? Because we need that one. Here, for example, I know that maybe you are going to say, but it's impossible. Um, it's impossible to have something. I think that maybe if you ask their parents to have a cushion, for example, they can bring their own cushion, no? Um, but it's important because, for example, and I'm going to tell you two experiences that I have. In the last school that I was a principal, and some teachers were complaining about the ninth graders, and they say, no, this is terrible, terrible. And I say, but how? I entered the class and it was messy, obviously, but I started to observe them, and I went to the history, and I realized that, and also because I work with learning styles, I apply a test and everything. And most of the students in that class, they were they were soccer players, and they were professional soccer players, no? They have golf players and tennis players. It was a group of sport students. And I said, obviously, they are not going to be sitting down because they are kinesthetic. In a moment, we're going to see that one. So I said, no more. You are going to have this arrangement. I arranged the classroom in a different way, and I asked the students to bring um, a beanbag if they can, or a cushion. And I worked with the teachers in that class, and I said, permit them to sit down in these places. Permit them to have this accommodation when they are in your class. And the class changed, because it's very, very different for a kinesthetic person to be sitting down the whole time. With the yoga mats, another experience. One day, in another school, that I had the possibility to make a proposal, and I had a school that it was amazing. In that school, we have a lot of students with TDA, and I have students with muscle tone situations. And I had two students with muscle tone situation that was very hard. And you know that muscle tone situations are not going to be cured in life. So I asked the mothers, and it was very challenging for the teacher, for the teachers to understand that they are going to have the class like that. So I asked the mothers to bring or to give us yoga mats. And when it was the explanation, or when it was the time for writing, the student took the yoga mat, extended, and he worked on that. And it was easier for him because of the tone, the problem in the muscle tone, and because it's the way that he could concentrate. So don't be afraid of observing your students, because sometimes they need other arrangement. Sometimes they don't need to sit down all the time. Imagine you sit down 2 hours or 1 hour in a math class, then another hour in the social study class, and come on, 8 hours sitting down is not always comfortable. So this one is going to help you a lot. Observe a lot your students. There are students that they move in the seat all the time, not like this one. It's not because they are disruptive. No, it's because sometimes they have problems like TDA, or they have problems in muscle tone. So you have to observe them. And before saying, this is a disruptive child, think why this child is behaving, or why that student is behaving like that. Normally, the human beings don't behave just because. No, always there is something back. Observe them, and look for that, for the possibility, and help them. I remember I was telling you, I remember a student that he was kinesthetic, and it was impossible for him to sit down, but impossible. And he sat down, obviously, when he sat down when he was receiving the explanation, but later when he was working, he was he was very funny, because he was always walking around the classroom, and he developed one exercise. He moved around, then went back to the seat. He never sat down, just stand. He was standing up all the time, and he developed the other exercise and moved around. And I remember that I said, okay, if I couldn't permit him to do that, his learning is going to be affected. Other teachers were not so, uh, they say, no, but he's disrupted. No, he was not disrupted. It was his need, because he was a kinesthetic student. I'm going to tell you something about that one later. Like that permits several flexible seating. If you believe me, you can do it. If you are I know that you are very creative, and you can do it. And you are going to see that is very different when you change your your layout in the classroom. The first person that has to change is this person, no, the you as teacher. The other ones, I don't know, maybe when in that school, when I told you that it was very traditional, I said, okay, I don't care, I'm going to change it. And the other teachers were, no, I don't like that one, I don't care, I like that one. So normally I finish my class and I reorganize the classroom again, and the teacher and the students, again, yes, again, because then you have other class. But it worked a lot. And always have quiet zones. You can have a corner for a quiet zone, but not for the quiet zone is, for example, for a student who wants to write. There are students that need silence to write down or to read or to, yes, there are different ways to do that. So in a corner, you can have a quiet zone that permits them to work with that. Normally, when you have an organized classroom, you can have the possibility for them to organize their brain, no? And it's going to be easier for the brain to learn. And they are going to learn like that. Another thing, when I was working with productive habits of mind, something that at the very beginning we work a lot is the organization, how your brain organize things, organize the space, because every brain is different, no? Not all the brains you can expect that everyone organize the things in a similar way. No, it depending on our own needs, no? But you have to develop an organization way that works for you. So when I was working with habits on mind, and in that part that I was teaching the students that they have to be organized and that they have to develop their own method to be organized. It's very important, and it's very amazing how they organize things. And I remember I said, why you organize your desk like this one? And said, because I need this one first, this one second, and this one third. And it was a method that for you says, but that methodology to organize this one, no, but it works for that student. The thing is that when the space is organized, the brain is organized and can learn better. So that's why it's not something that you say, I know, it's because, no, it's because we have to be organized. And sometimes these days, students have forgotten that. No, it's messy, everything. No, everything has to be organized. Even the paper, look, don't permit them to give you whatever in whatever paper they work, or they work in a I don't know, when they are taking notes, don't permit them to be messy. No, the notebooks have to be organized. Everything has to be organized, because that is going to help a lot. That's the difference between a very an outstanding student and the other one, and you are going to see it. And it's not something that is not that I'm saying. No. It's the difference. An outstanding mind is always organized. An outstanding student is like that. And now ask yourself how organized you are, because you cannot ask students to be organized if you are not organized. If for you organization is no, a teacher must be organized in everything, and the spaces. And remember something, the students is like a mirror, no? If you want to know how, if I want, for example, as a coordinator, if I wanted to know how the teachers are, I just look at the classroom and say, oh, come on, no? And something that you have, if you have to work in organization in your own life, work it, and you are going to see later why. Okay. Obviously, when you have an organized classroom, you are going to see that everything is going to be better, because the stress is reduced, because the brain is prepared to learn, because you avoid distractions. Don't put a lot of things on the walls in the classroom. No, just the things that you need, because those things also are distractions. So you just put the things you need. What you need, for example, if you work with rubrics, have a specific place in order to put the the work that the students do, no? That they have their works over there. Okay, how we build this bridge in order to understand the students. Another important thing for classroom management is not only the setting. We have seen, okay, if a classroom is organized, the classroom management is going to be a little bit easier. But another thing is to understand understand our students. You cannot enter a classroom without knowing your students, without knowing, for example, if they are in elementary school, what they can do. Sometimes we forget and we say, I know, Piaget? No, Piaget was very intelligent and said, okay, if the student is in this stage, they do this one. So don't ask the students to do things that their brain is not prepared to do it. Um, I normally, when I work with the teachers, in elementary, I say, be careful when you are asking them, students in first, second, and third grade, be careful because they don't have reversibility in the thought, so they can do many things that teachers think that they can do. So you have to know your students. You have to know that your students have a certain age, and that age in the Piaget operations have something, if they are concrete operations or pre-operational, or if they have already in seventh graders or eighth graders, if they have already attained the abstract operations. You have to know that part. But another part that is important and is going to be working in favor in your classes is if you know the learning style. You have to go from the idea that everybody learns in a different way. We never learn in a similar way. Yes, we can, and there are different things. One is the thing that how we enter the information to our brain, how our brain processes, and how we uh, has the output. Every part in the brain, in the process, is different. So that's why it's important to know the learning styles. No, it's the way people absorb, process, comprehend, and retain information. Not all people retain information. And one thing that I'm going to tell you about this one, if you don't know your learning style, you have to do it. Because in that way, you are going to identify in the students in an easy way. This is not a matter of knowing about visual, audio, auditory, kinesthetic, about multiple intelligence. No, is to put this one in action. So you have to observe your students. I remember a student that I had, and when I was in the circle time and I was reading a story, he normally sat down close to me, and he was very tall. He was a big student, he was tall, and normally he was in the back part because he was tall, and he was very disrupted over there. So one day we were doing the circle time because I was reading something, and he sat down, and I start to observe that every time I was reading something, he sat down close to me, and that would say, obviously, he is a visual learning. And a visual learning must be close to the things that they are going to read or see. And he was in the back part. So the other possibility that he had at that time was being disrupted. Why? Because he didn't see well the thing that he was learning. So that's important. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you that one. When you know the learning style of your students, you are going to maximize the potential, and they are going to learn easier, and they are not going to be disrupted. And this is going to be also seen in the classroom management. Why? Because if you are giving the students the explanation, or you are giving the task according to the learning style, so it's going to be easier for them. So, for example, if like the student that I told you about, the visual thing, immediately I change him to the close to the blackboard. I put it in a way that he cannot get disrupted, but the life changed because you have to establish that one. In my experience, my own experience, I am a visual learner. And I was always at the back part of the classroom. I studied in a non-school. And in the school, we were 50 in the same classroom. And I was in the back part. Could you imagine what I learned? Nothing, because the blackboard was far away from me. If I have the possibility to be in front, maybe I have learned better. But because I was a very disrupted child, I was in the back part. So that one is the part that you have to know, okay? And this is going to be working with in pro of your classroom management. You are not going to think about how I'm going to handle the students that are very disruptive. No, you are going to be focused on how I'm going to handle the different uh, learning styles. Just for recap, is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and you can have reading and writing preferences. Remember, learning styles are the way the students, or the way we uh, like we introduce the information to our brain. Yes, once we have it in the brain, we organize in a different way, and there are other styles. But this is very important, because the way you analyze your students is the way also to see where to sit down those students. So a visual learner normally absorbs information through the eyes. Everything enters in the eyes. They learn very quickly. Visual learners learn very quickly. Why? Because it's very close to the brain, so they are absorbing very quickly. Those kids, for example, or those students, and even you learn better if you have colors, if you have charts, graphs, images. Normally, we remember the things in the classroom. So for these visual learnings, and if you have the possibility to use markers with different colors, it's going to be excellent on the board. There are now markers that we can use on the board with different colors. I used to have a box like this one that a teacher that I used to work with gave me, and it was the most wonderful gift that I received, and it was nice, because in that way I use different colors for different things, and I help a lot of visual learnings. Something important: most of the majority of students are visual, so important thing. Normally, the visual learning remember details better when they are visually presented, and permit them to write everything. The visual learners are the visual people are the people who write everything with different colors, with markers, with highlighters. We have the colors, the things, everything. So if you permit them to have that idea and to write down, it's going to be easier for them. Okay? If you identify them, you are going to say to the parents, give them the colors and everything, because they need those. And normally, these kind of students benefit from watching videos, from flashcards, from everything, and colorful presentations. They are very bored, or we are very bored if the presentation is just the same color. No, it changes a lot. And these visual learners develop a strong spatial awareness. No, everything has to be organized, and everything in the board has to be organized. Please don't be messing on the board. Be organized, because the visual learners learn with that organization. Something just for you to know. Visual learners don't like to be touched too much. No, don't. And they, because the eye, the proximity with them must be a little bit far. No, visual people, we don't like to be touched or to be that people be close to us. That's why we normally do this. So that's important. An organization, it's important. You notice a visual learner, or you know that you are visual or that someone is visual in the way the person is dressed. No, in a visual person, everything has to combine. No, the shoes, the pants, everything has to combine. And all the notebooks are very organized because that's the visual person. So you have to be careful with that one. The location in the classroom with those, they have to be in front, close to the board. And you have to, they are going to remember the way you move the, the lips, no? They know that you say something, but they know that you say something because you write it down. So if you are a teacher that you don't write so much, start doing that, because most of the students are visual. So important thing, important, and place them in front or close to the board. Okay. Now, then we have the auditory learnings. The auditory learners process information through listening. So they are excellent for music, excellent learning song, remember the song, and they have to be, uh, they have to have the possibility to listen. They are going permit them to close their eyes meanwhile they are meanwhile you are explaining, because they are always like this one, paying attention like that. So recording discussions, lectures are easy for them. No, they remember more what you say, not what you wrote. So the visual learners remember what you wrote. The auditory learners remember what you said. And normally, if you want to know a person what is the learning style, also listen what they say. A visual learning normally say, look, come, look. And the auditory learning normally say, come, hear me, no? So when you see that when you listen to someone saying, come, look, immediately it's a visual learner. The other one is that one. These people, these visual auditory learners, are going to be benefit from the way, in order to retain information, permit them to rhyme things. So when they are learning English, they're rhyming things, the poems, and or permit them to make the rhymes. They are very good at that one, and they can memorize things better. For example, if you have, they have to read something, look for things that they can access audiobooks or even in YouTube. So if the visual learning is reading, they can listen to the story, and it's going to be easier. It can be the same story, but it's presented in a different format. These people have a lot of a strong language skill, and they like verbal explanations. The visual learners, the verbal explanation is boring, no? But this one they love. So if you are in a moment that we're going to work with differentiation, and if you work with group and you have recognized that these people are auditory, the explanation must be different from them. So that's important for you. The location of these students: place the auditory learners on the sides of the classroom where they can listen. For the visual and the pay attention to this one. From the visual learning and the auditory learning, the noise is a nightmare. When they start screaming, hey, it's a nightmare. And if you are a visual teacher, tell your students that one. Or if you are an auditory teacher, tell your students, I am an auditory, please try to have your voice in a normal tone, no? Because the noise for them, the 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 very high noise and everything and the screaming, it's not going to help them. They can be in the part in the sides of the classroom and in a way that they can listen to you clearly. So they cannot be very behind others. They have to be in front but in the sides. Okay. And then we have the kinesthetic learners. You are going to know them because they move a lot. Be careful. Not all the people that move a lot uh, have TDA. No, teachers are wonderful doing this one. They say, I know this is a TDA. No, most of the time they are kinesthetic because the kinesthetic need to move a lot. As I told you with my student that he needs to move a lot, or with the ninth graders that I told you they sitting down for them was a nightmare. So they prefer hands-on approach activities. No, they prefer to do. They are the ones that are touching you. They are the ones that say, please, no, and they do this one with the finger. I hate it, but they do this one. Oh, pay me attention, and they touch you because they need to touch. In order to learn, they need to have something. If you are going to have them in an explanation for the classroom management, for you permit them to have a ball that they can use. Don't be afraid that they are chewing gum because they need to move, or don't permit them to move the food because they are always moving something. So, and you can if you observe them, and you can discover that they are kinesthetic because they move a lot. They feel that, again, sit down and they stand up in a certain way. Permit them to stand up because for them it's very very hard to be sitting down all the time. um, they thrive in environments where they can interact with the material physically. So, for example, if you are in a class in an English class, uh, and they have the possibility to create a game or to develop something in order to learn, permit them to do that because that's the way they are going to learn. They like to do experiments, to do simulations, role playing, no, all those things that permit them um, to touch, to move. And something that is very important for you is that you have to know um, to know them because they are the ones that are more sacrificed. No, most of the teachers don't like kinesthetic students. Most of the teachers think that these students are just disrupted, and no, they are not disrupted. Most of the teachers think that they have TDA. No, it's because they need to move. So permit them to move. The location that they have in the school, place them always in the back part and permit them to stand up. That's why they have to be in the back part, because if they need to stand up in order to do an exercise, permit them. No, they have normally strong motor skills, so that's why they are very good at sports. So if you can think about how to work with them in I remember a student that was kinesthetic, and I normally said, okay, go run 2 minutes and come back. And that was because it's the way they, meanwhile he was running, he was answering in his mind the problem or something like that. So very important to know your students in the learning style. Now, in the classroom management, it's important because if you know that they are receiving according to the learning style, so they are not going to be disruptive. If I am, as I told you, if I am visual and I'm in the back part, I'm going to start disrupting the class. If I am auditory and I'm in the back part, I'm going to start that one. If I am kinesthetic and I cannot move, so when you recognize that one, they permit to focus on their task. And if you recognize, if you plan the activities to attain this kind of learning styles, it's going to be easier because I'm going to do what I like, what is easy for me, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to bother my classmate. So very important with that one. Now, with this one, we go to active learning. That is a way to, it's a methodology and an approach that you can that can help you a lot. No, because active learning permits the students to experience the learning instead of receiving a lecture that they cannot, in a certain way, manipulate what they are learning. This methodology is hands-on, but not is everything hands-on activity. No, is that spaces that permit them to know and to acquire knowledge in a way that they can develop and in a way that they can handle. So that's why learning styles are very important here. So how we work with this one and how this is going to be beneficial for classroom management. Because in here, in active learning classrooms, everybody is involved in the task, in the activities they are doing. Be careful. Active learning classrooms are not quiet. No, they are not noisy. They are not extremely noisy. No, but they are classrooms that students are talking because, again, learning is a social activity. So if you expect that a classroom in active learning is completely quiet, no, forget it. They are always talking, and it's better if you, for example, go to the little groups and work with them. Normally, they are focused on the on the task, so that reduces distraction. So classroom management here is easier. You are not going to say, "I please, Juanito, do what you have to do." No, because if you anticipate them what they have to do and they work in groups and they know what to do, you just go to your little here, for example, the instruction is in two ways, and there is a large group in which I can give the instruction and a big explanation, and then I can go with the small groups, and in those small groups, meanwhile, one student or one group of students are doing something, the other students are with me giving a more detailed explanation. So everybody is involved in different activities, but they are focused on what they are doing. So they reduce distraction, and classroom management in this way is very easy because you don't have to deal with things that like bullying behavior. No, because they are working. Another thing is that obviously they are more actively participating in discussions, in teamwork. They are helping each other. That's why active learning is so nice. Something that is going to be important for you is that you have to plan activities that enhance intrinsic motivation. What is that intrinsic motivation? It's a very important intelligent behavior. And intrinsic motivation is built through activities that are not so easy, but are not so difficult. No, that the challenge, it's something that I say, okay, I can attain that one. I can do that. The other thing is that I can start and finish. No, that's persistence. That is another intelligent behavior. and that the students see that he's going to be successful. Every time the students see that he's going to be successful, you have it for the rest of their life. Okay, so when you have activities, think about that the students must be successful doing the activity. That is not so easy, because if they are so easy, you say, but if they are challenging, but they can do it, it's going to be important thing. I'm going to explain this one with the intrinsic motivation is the feeling that people have inside, that when you have, after an effort, attain and you feel great. I normally say to my students that feeling that when you, for example, you are dividing at the beginning, you didn't know how to divide, and now you divide. That feeling that you say, "Wow, I achieved this, I got it." That's the most wonderful thing in life. For the rest of the things, that's Mastercard. Here in Colombia there was a commercial. Para todo lo demás existe Mastercard. But that feeling, no, that's amazing. And that's what you need in active learning. And with that feeling and with everything in this one, you don't need to worry about classroom management, because they are doing what they have to do, because they are motivated to learn. The human being is always motivated to learn. If you have a student that doesn't want to learn, ask yourself why. I'm going to say something that teachers hate me because I say that. There are bad students. There are bad teachers, but not bad students. If there is a student that doesn't want to learn, something is happening on in the emotional part, or because he doesn't know, and the change is on your hands. Just sit down with that student and, okay, let's write together this one. Let's work together on this one. And if it's normally, that's the disrupted student, the one that is because it doesn't want. I remember a student that he was very bad at in English. His level in English was very, very low. And one day I say, why? It was not my student, it was the ninth grader that I taught. And say, what happened? His name is Moises. And say, Moi, what happened? Say, I don't know English. And said, okay, don't worry. Let's work together in that. I was the principal, and every day at 7 o'clock he arrived to my office, and I worked with him English. And in class, and I said to him, okay, don't worry, when you have something in class that is very difficult, just call me, send me a WhatsApp message, and I go to the classroom. And I was like that. I sat down with him and I explained with him and said, okay, this one. And he started to learn and said, finally, I love English. So remember, there are no bad students, just understand them, okay? And this active learning can help you doing that one. And you can forget about classroom management. Why? Because everybody is focused on what they have to do. Normally, give them activities that enhance critical thinking. In this one, they can have critical thinking activities and problem solving activities, and they are amazing doing this one. And because they are working in groups, they are going to learn to respect each other. The bullying behavior is going to be less than that one, no? Because they are working and everybody is helping the other people. So they are understanding that learning is better when we work with other people. So teamwork is another thing that can help you here. And obviously, when you have active learning, the organization, the planning must be important. Always set rules and routines. When the human being has a routine, it's easier for that person to go in life, because he can anticipate what is coming. and he can handle. So the stress in the brain is going to get down. Obviously, there is an equilibrium that you have to set between novelty and routine. But the student must have that routine that all the days you enter, and something important when they enter the classroom or if you enter the classroom, have eye contact with them, just a touch on their elbow, something that is meaningful, because the brain, when it's learning, is an emotional thing. So when you establish a close and emotional relationship with your students, you have that students, you are going to relate with them, they are going to learn better. If you have, for example, how is your day, how was your family issue, okay, that is something important. Sometimes we enter the classroom and we give the class and that's it. No, this is also, in order to learn, the brain must be established an emotional um, liaison, if you want, with the teacher. The student must feel that the teacher cares for him or for her. Okay, so very important to have rules, limits, and routines, that they know what to do, what is expected from them. If you work with rubrics, put the rubrics over there, put the objectives of the class, put the objectives of of the semester or the term, the one that you have. Help students to monitor themselves, no? Okay, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do? And when something happens, what happened? Why do you think that this is not the result you expected? How can you do it better? That kind of questions are going to help better the students to monitor. And believe me, if they do that, you learn, you are teaching them to do an important intelligent behavior, that is that one that is to monitor our own mind. So very important, that one. Okay, and when you have those, believe me, the disruptions are going to be over, because they are focused on learning, and people like to learn, even though they don't like things. Sometimes we don't like, but in at the end we like to learn. There are things that we don't like a lot, and we have to respect that one too. Okay. Okay, another thing, for all the parts of the brain, no, active learning supports neuroeducation. And something that at the beginning I told you, teaching is a science, and it's a science that is connected with neuroscience. We have to know how the brain works in order to see, okay, this activity works for my student, yes or no. Because sometimes you plan beautiful activities and wow, but they don't work at all, because they are not permitting the students to learn. So if we know how the brain works, it's going to be easier for us. For example, all the planning is going to activate the prefrontal area of the brain. And that's very important, because that's the one that can permit the students in the future to anticipate, to say, okay, this is going to happen if I do this one, and this is in this part of the brain, and is the last part of the brain that is going to be developed. So that's why the routine, the anticipation, all those things are going to help your students to do that. And when you do that, well, the students know in advance what to do. They are not going to be disruptive. No. The other thing is break up. If you are going to do a lecture, break it up. Permit them to move, permit them to do different things, because the monotony is a killer for everything. So make the spaces, or divide that one into segments, and permit them to do many things, to do different things into the segments, no? And obviously this one is going to help you with conflict resolution, because anyhow they are going to have conflicts, but they are going to know how to solve them by themselves, or you can help them if you want. The other thing that is very linked to this one is differentiation. Please, if you are going to take into your mind learning style, active learning, you have to differentiate, and this is the must in education. Everybody is different. Not We are not the same as the other person. So I don't understand why in education teachers think that everybody is going to learn in the same way at the same pace. No, it's different. So we have um, to stop being scared of differentiation. That's something that is important for us. Permit that our students assume that they are different, that they learn different, and that we learn different. And in this one, you are going to meet the students' needs. And in that one, when you permit them to meet their needs and you assume that they are different, believe me, they are not going to be disruptive. Because sometimes teachers give a class, a lecture from way, or learning at the same pace. So it's important. My recommendation, for example, is you have to explain, make stations, make little groups, and explain in this one, divide the groups according to the learning style, according to the level, in a moment I'm going to show you how you can differentiate the different things. But for example, if you are going to teach something, have at least 3 or 4 strategies and ask them, okay, how do you want I teach you this one, this way, this way, this way, this way. The students, even if they are in first grade, they are going to say this way, because they know that this is the way that they are going to be learning easily. So always have 4 ways to explain the same thing, because not everybody is going to learn the same thing. When you work with this approach, with differentiation in the classroom, you recognize that your classroom is diverse, and that students have different background, different abilities, different interests, different learning styles. And in that way, you can attain to every different student. You can, as I told you, you can work with groups. And believe me, you think, but they are in groups and the classroom management. No, but doesn't matter, because they are working on the way they can and they are enjoying that one. So you forget about classroom management. They are not going to be disrupted. Normally here they learn, and it's an important, I think that the most important learning that the students have in this kind of classroom is that they learn that they are different. So I don't want to be similar to the other person. No, I am different. And in that way, I respect myself because I am different. And in that way, you can work in equality, no? And they know that they are going to um, have what they need. Okay. Here, for example, you can adjust the content, the processes, and the outcome, and you are going to say, no, impossible. Yes, you can. You Not all the students learn at the same pace. So what you can do that's why I love rubrics, because in the rubrics you can have the possibility to teach uh, with more time the students that are having more trouble in certain topic, and give extra work to the other ones. And sometimes people say, no, but that's impossible. No, if you plan it well, you can do it, and it's easier for you. Because believe me, if you are teaching 35 students at the same time, giving the explanation, I can tell you that 20 of them are not paying attention. But if you go to a group of 5 and you that explanation you are going to give it in the group of 5, it's going to be easier. And you're going to know if they are learning or not, if they are clarifying doubts or not. It's very amazing when you are teaching something in math and you are in those groups. You immediately know for the movement, the eye movement, that the students have already learned. It's amazing. I only noticed that in math. In English, no, but in math, yes. When they understand something, the eyes changed and say, oh God, yeah, I did it. So it's easier for you. Don't worry about adjust the content. So some students need something um, in a different way, and other students need something in a different way. For example, when I was working with my students for many years, for many years, I worked with stations in differentiating classroom. And I remember one student, I said, okay, I'm going to explain, I don't remember, I think that was multiplication. Uh, I'm going to explain you the multiplication. How are going to explain you? And I have 4 possibilities. I explain it like this one, like this, say like that one. In that one, I know that he can understand better if I explain that way. So you can adjust the content. It doesn't mean that not all the people are going to learn the same thing. Yes, they are going to learn the same thing, but the how is the different thing. So give the time to others that need more time, and give extra work or permit them to go beyond the knowledge with extra work to the ones that are always learning quickly. So it's going to be important for them. And in that way, it's respecting them. And you are not going to have any trouble because they know that that you are going to that they are going to learn. Because also this is a stressful thing that, oh my God, I have to learn something, I don't understand anything and what I'm going to do. And they start being disrupted, sometimes not because they want, is because they want the other person to explain them in a way that maybe you are not being successful with that explanation, but maybe the classmate, yes. So sometimes the disruption is that one. And sometimes you say, what you are talking about? He is explaining me something. Ah, okay. Yes, but don't be afraid of implementing a new way of how, because the classroom management is at the end is the way you are going to enhance a safe environment for the learning. Normally, in this one, there is a balance between groups instruction in large group, as I told you, and in small groups. Normally, in my experience, what I did, or what I normally do, is the large group is just for the instruction. We are going to do this, this, and this. You are going to be here. You are going to be here. Da da da. And in small groups, I go to every small group explaining what I have to that I need them to learn. In small groups, and you are going to say, but how? Yes, because I work with a station, so I plan, for example, 4 stations. I have 5 groups, 4 groups that they can do the things. I know that they can do the things alone. And in that way, I am working with another intelligent behavior, autonomy, and self-regulation. So in 4 groups, they know that they can do this alone. And that's for reviewing, that's something. And the other group, the last group, the 5th group, I am with them, teaching them, explaining them, working with them. Once they have already received the explanation and practice with me, we changed, and the other group comes with me, and this group start doing the other activity. But in that way, I can, at the end of the week, I can, or at the end of 3 days, no, I can assure that everyone in my class has already understood what I need. So it's another way to think about differentiation in the classroom and how to explain something. And you are going to ask me, and what happened when a student is not working in? No, they are always working. At the beginning, it's very complicated for them, but in 1 week, when they have already learned, and because the routines are established, because everything is planned, because everything is anticipated, because everything is told in advance, you don't have any trouble. They are going to be a little bit noisy classroom because everybody is talking about the things that they are working, but they are working in their own thing. So it's very important that one. Don't expect that they are in a quiet classroom. No, those classrooms are noisy because everybody's talking, but everybody's talking about the thing that we need. And if you ask me how many problems in classroom management I have, none. Maybe one that is obviously the person who, but normally when I say what happened with you, give me, and always is saying, I don't understand. Okay, I'm going to explain to you. You are going to do this, and when you finish this part, divide it. When you have students that, for example, with TDA, divide break the activity. In that one is going to be easier for them. And once they work, or they know what to do, they start working, and you forget about classroom management and you focus on what you really have to do. Another thing I was going to tell you, an example. I used to have a student with TDA and was very complicated with instruction, I remember. And I said to him always, don't worry. Give me one moment, I explain to each group what they have to do, and I come back with you, I sit down with you, and in that moment, we are going to work. From that moment, the light changed because he was very disruptive. So I anticipated, and from that moment, he waited for me 5 minutes. I came back to him, I explained, I sit down. Very important, if you have your students, sit down with them. I don't sit down on your desk. No, sit down with them, work with them. This way of education, it's hand by hand with the student. Normally, when someone was looking at my classroom, they never found me because I was sitting with them. And you don't have a teacher? Yes, I am here. Sorry, I didn't see you. Yes, of course you didn't see me because I was working with my students. I think that was a real teacher has to do, be with the students. You can differentiate the content. So you can differentiate the content by learning styles, no? By difficulty, no? There are students that need something that is easier. There are students that need something that is harder. So you can differentiate the content by the learning style, by the difficulty, by the interest. So, for example, if you can no, if you are working with English, you can permit them to, okay, you can create a song, you can create a story, you can invent a game. Give at least 4 or 5 possibilities to present the same thing that they are learning. So it's going to be easier for them to choose, and they are going to choose normally according to the learning style they have. You can, for example, work with independent activities, hand-down tasks, hand-down activities. Don't be afraid of using technology. So you can say, okay, with your cell phone, look for this. And you can use web quests. Differentiation is amazing with the web quest. So you can give, okay, this is the web quest. You are going to work with your cell phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever, and look for the information in these pages, complete this one, and you are promoting intelligent behavior. Intelligent behavior is everybody is intelligent, but the way people behave is the one that changes. So in intelligent behavior, there are 12 behaviors that people must have in order to be to be behaving intelligently. One is persistent, another is self-regulation, the other one is metacognition. But with all of these activities, you are working with persistence, self-regulation, no, with metacognition, because they have to say, okay, what I'm going to do, conflict resolution. So all of those things are going to help you. And what about classroom management? It's going to be easier for you because you don't have to be on top of your students. Please sit down, please behave. Please, 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 please. No, because they are focused on what they have to do. Okay? And always, always think about also that you can differentiate the products. If they have, as I told you, if they have to present something to you, permit them to do it in a different way. And it's going to be easier for you, even their homework. I remember that when I was with my students at the school, I said to them on Monday, on day one, because we normally don't work with Monday, Tuesday, no. We work day one, sometimes until day 6. So on day one, I said, okay, the homework for these 6 days are this one. You can choose this way to present it in this way. And I have like 5 homework, the same topic, but 5 kind of homework. And I said, okay, you choose the one that you want. And they love it. And they say, this is not homework, this is relaxation, because they were learning, but they were learning according to their interests. They were learning according to the things that they can attain in a format that they like. And this is also related to motivation, to intrinsic motivation. They are going to generate a feeling that I can do this. I am good at this one. And everybody is going to be, is going to realize that we are good at things, because sometimes it's not because we are not good at, it's because the thing that they expect us to do it is not, it's against our learning style, against our way we learn. So this is something that is very close to management. Or you can say to them, okay, I want you to present, to explaining this one as you want. And this is amazing, because they are very creative. Sometimes I remember some students that they design a game, but it was the game. And I said, okay, from now on, we are going to play those games every 15 days. And it was they motivating, we motivated the use of the game, and it was amazing, the game. I remember that it was a game to practice irregular verbs, and it was super nice, super nice, and it helps a lot. And just for finishing, we are going to connect this one with neuroeducation and intelligent behavior. Intelligent behavior, as I told you, it's an approach that Arthur Costa, years ago, because this is with the hand close to emotional intelligence, that was working, but at that moment in the life. But Arthur Costa says, no, we have to learn to give this one to students. So intelligent behavior is close um, to emotional intelligence applied to schools. And he said, okay, there are 12 behaviors that are going to have the students being successful in life. And in a certain way is, you are successful when you have to do what you have to do in the time you have to do it and how they are asking you to do it. And for doing that, you have to develop 12 things. I'm going to tell you in general: the persistence, the self-regulation, the metacognition, the flexibility in thought, in thinking flexibility, and in that way, it's going to have that one. Okay, I know that is 12:10. I think that I have to do this one quickly. This is very short, just for telling you and for wrapping up. Is learning and teaching is a science, and it's a science that is close to brain. If you know how do your students brain work, you are, how we say in Spanish, la sacaron del estadio. So you have to work thinking about that one. In order to work with classroom management, don't be afraid of use mindfulness and emotional regulation. Most of the time, our students are arriving to our school, our classroom with many things emotional. So deal with that one. Mindfulness is a very good technique. Use it. It's not something different. No, mindfulness is used in many universities around the world. It's kind of meditation, but no, it's another thing that permits the students to focus. It's going to be working a lot with the TDA students, growth the mindset, no, give then the students to work on resilience, in improving, support them, no, when you support them and you say, good, you can do it, but you can do it like this one, good, and you have that students for life. Okay, and always think that the expectations, the rules, the rubrics, the objectives must be um, set in the classroom, but you have to create a sense of stability and fairness. Everything has to be fair in the classroom. If you have the rules are your guideline, okay? And those rules are going to promote the respect, the inclusivity, and the kindness, no? So don't be afraid of diversity, use differentiation, and believe me that your classroom management is going to be easy. You are not going to be worried about, oh my God, what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to stop at this moment with this one, just telling you that if you uh, learn that that student over there, it's that you are the most important person for that student sometimes, uh, and that you have that close relationship. And when I mean that close relationship is just that your student matters to you, that is important for you. And just for finishing, just I'm going to close, do what the fox did in the Little Prince when he says, uh, you are important for me because you are different from other kids in the world. That's why that part of the Little Prince is what education is. Every student is your little prince, and you are the fox, and you have to create that relationship. Okay? Questions, comments. I know that I took a lot, 10 minutes more, 15 minutes more. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I think that all the participants were really happy with your presentation. Talking about classroom management is always a good setting for us as teachers that we have to go every day to our classrooms. And thanks for sharing so many techniques, so many policies that we can implement in the class, so many ways to implement the place in the classroom, how students, how to behave, and how can we be the better teachers. Something that I'm really happy that I completely agree with you, and I think all the participants will say, is that there are no bad students. There are bad teachers. And I always say that as well. I'm sorry for some teachers that maybe disagree with us, but I believe in that. No, if we have students with different needs, if we have students with different learning styles, we need to accommodate ourselves to our students because that's our professions. And the ones that we love teaching, we do that every day in our single life. So Thank you very much, Adriana. I hope that we have
No, my
more
pleasure.
opportunities to have you with this amazing group of teachers that we have in Ecuador, that they are always willing. They don't care about Saturday, but they are here because they want to learn and they want to be better teachers. So again, Adriana, thank you very much for your presentation.
No, no, no. And when you need me, you just let me know. Okay. I am very happy to share what I have learned through my life. And
Thank
as I told you, I love teaching. It's part of my life. It's in
you.
my veins, I think.
I think that for all of us. So thank you
Yes,
very much, Adriana. You have a lovely Saturday, and thank you so much for all the
yes.
scholars here presented. Please do not forget to register your attendance so you can have your certificate. Thank you very much, Adriana, again, and hope to see you
No,
very soon. Next year we have the ECUATESOL conference. So I will invite you and welcome to
of
be part of it.
course. Just let me know. I'm going to be happy.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And for all of
Okay.
the other teachers, have a
Bye
lovely
bye.
Saturday. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye
Thank
bye. No. Okay.